Hello, Natroners, and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. So today we're looking at we're going to be looking at how to make some transitions with Card3D because as somebody had asked, they had asked several times about making some transitions, and apparently other people didn't know how to make them. So I thought to myself, why don't we just show people how to make ourselves some 3D transitions? This is loosely based off of some stuff that was done in After Effects. Anyhow, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you what we're going to start with, and then what we're going to end with. So, I constructed this video specifically. It's called Transitions, it's actually called Transition. But there's a lot of actually types of transitions. Let's see if people can actually figure out all the little bitty bits and transitions that are in this, because there's a lot of different types of transitions that are happening in here. Anyway. And what we're going to be turning it into is this. All right, so here we are in Natron, and if you don't know this, there's I would include a download I already did on Facebook. If you look in the YouTube video for this, you will also see when this airs that I will have included, like all my other all the other things. I will have a resources link to all the things and the original files, because that was not made from, well, other than the music itself. The music was old. Anyway, the music is just going to be available only as part of that. You're not going to be able to edit it on your own. Anyway, right. So the name of the movie is called Transitions, or the name of the original, the source is called Transitions, but the name of the final movie is called Transition, because it's actually the overall arc is just a transition. Anyway, throw in Transitions, the source, into a Natron here, and it's a all intra movie, which, by the way, could cause some problems. Even though, just so people know that if you try to do things like lower your resolution, sometimes, and I noticed it happens, especially when working with Card3D in conjunction with the mirror node, which is one of the things we're going to do today. And I'm also going to show this with a second way if you have multiple things. Right now, we're only going to be doing it first with a single source, but I'm going to also bring in some of the original footage and just do a wipe using two of the bits from the original bits, so we can see that it won't be done at the exact same spot. But anyway, I'm babbling on here. I don't want to babble on anymore. So we need to first of all find our transition points. So one of the things I said that's particularly potentially dangerous is we're going to be putting this into, we're going to be dropping the resolution so we can scan through this quicker. I'm just going to drop it down to the lowest setting because this will allow us to just scrub through this and find the transition quickly. We can tell what it is. This is where the car is, and or the vehicle, and it's going to go, and right in there we're going to have the first transition right there. There's our first 2 frames. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to first zoom in on this, and we're going to put in a 2 nodes, because all we need to start this off, or to do 90% of this, the only time we need the 3rd node is if we're going to do multiple sources, and I'll show that, as I say, later. So the things that we're going to need is I believe it's called horizontal. It's a mirror node. What am I thinking? It's called mirror. So we hit tab and we type in MIRROR mirror, and the mirror node. The reason we need this is because when we do this tumbling with the Card3D, what's going to happen is we're going to wind up on the backside of this Card3D node, and so depending on how the Card3D node is rotated, the video is going to flip. So what we can see up here is that we have the ability with this node to flip it vertically or horizontally as needed, and we can animate these just by right clicking on them. And so what we're going to do is just set an initial key on this particular frame, because this is the first frame, and then we're going to, well, we'll see what our first frame, what our first transition is going to be in a minute. The second thing we need to do is, this is HD. We can see right here it's HD resolution. We do need to do a thing, because we might remember that Card3D tends to lock up if it doesn't have a background, a consistent background, and we're going to be transforming this background, so we need something that's going to stay steady and still behind it. So first thing, let's put a Card3D in here. So Card3D, and there's our Card3D to be animated. And then we're going to do a over on the side, we're going to put a solid over here. I'm just going to go solid, and we're going to put, for the background of the solid, we're just going to feed the source of this video into it. That way, the solid reason I'm using a solid is because I don't want it to, if I used an alpha, there's a high probability that we'd wind up with the background image, and I'll want a black image to be the background. So what we want to do now is we want to take the output of this solid, put a merge node in, put the Card3D into it, over it, like so, and then we're going to take and just add a little corner point like so. And for the bounding box of this, we're going to tell it that we wanted to use B. For why do we want to use B? Because the Card3D is going to be rotating all around, and it's going to be changing the ROD of its output completely, and we don't need that, and so it's just extra information we don't need. So why bother to have it? So we're going to just do that. And the other thing, just to be on the safe side, we're going to uncheck. Well, yeah, we want to keep the alpha channels all unchecked. I think we ought to be able to. I think that should output this without an alpha channel. We should wind up with just a solid white alpha at the end. Doesn't matter. We'll see. But just to be on the safe side. All right. So how is this going to work? We're going to do our transitions basically over 10 frames. All right. So this is the frame where it's going to start. And the thing we have to understand about these transitions is, because we're doing these 3D rotations, we don't want the Card3D to disappear or the information on it. So what that really means is that we want to work in odd transition counts. In other words, you don't want to do a transition of 20 frames. You want to do it of technically 21 frames. And I'll show you what I mean. The reason is we want to give an even amount to both sides of the transition so it looks even. All right, so we're keeping it at 10. So here we're one frame before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, but hit the back by the 10 frame back button, which moves us 10 frames back before our current frame. And I'm just making sure we're zoomed in. And on our Card3D, let's pull up our Card3D, make sure it's all nice and pretty. And we're going to just, no, I'm going to keep it all visible. I'm going to make sure that both our mirror and our Card3D are visible. So wait a minute. Yes, right. You know what? No, I changed my mind. I'm only going to keep one of these up at a time. So, what we want to do, all of this, or at least all of what we're going to be doing, is being done on the rotate axes of the Card3D node. So we're going to right click in here and we're going to set a key on all dimensions on this very first frame, which is 10 frames prior to where we want the transition to actually happen. All right. And this sets up the initial frame. Then we can hit the 10 frames ahead, which takes us to the frame before we transition. We're going to go one frame forward, which is the next section of the sequence. And then we're going to hit the 10 frames forward after it. And we're going to also set a keyframe here for the Card3D. All right. So that creates exactly, it's two sets of 10 with one frame between. All right. And what we're going to do is we have to decide how we're going to do this. All right. So in my original one, I should probably pull that up. Let me see. What did I do? Where did I put that? Uh-oh. One moment. I don't think I was almost prepared as I thought I was. We'll just go over here, up here. Let me just give me one moment to get this up. All right, where did I put it? That's odd. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Let's put this here. Let's open this with. I'm going to do it with. All right, so it's putting it up here for you guys, and we're gonna just half size this. Set the video to zoom half. All right, so whoop. Oi. We just want it. All right, so the first transition is a rotate around, so it's going to be a rotate on the y-axis. So what we want to do here is we want it to rotate. We can see that we're going to rotate it this way, so we're going to rotate it in a positive direction. Basically what we're going to do is set this to 180 degrees. All right, and when we do that, it looks like nothing happened except for now the video is facing the opposite direction. All right, so this is at this point we actually have the transition. If we go back to the previous keyframe for this right here and we hit play, we can see the transition, except for it's hard. It doesn't ease at the beginning and the end. All we got to do for the transition is we go over to our curves, we select our Y, select those two, the in and the out points for the Y, we right click on it and we go to Interpolation, and we tell it that we're going to do horizontal interpolation. All right, and when we do that, it will basically ease in and ease out of the two ends. So when we go back here to the beginning and we hit play, we can see it eases it. Now this is where it gets dangerous. I'm going to let you guys know, keeping this at a low resolution like we are right now, working with Card3D, I have had this file crash. I don't think it crashes. It doesn't crash if we do it full resolution, but if we crash, just know it's because this is set down to a very low resolution, mainly because I want this to interact as fast as physically possible for the stream, and we don't need to actually see the actual video at this point. We want to just get this done, get this, animated as quickly as possible. All right, so that's it. That's the first end. That's the fast transition. Wasn't that hard? But it does get a little trickier because at this point, we do have a problem that we have flipped it. So we have flipped it horizontally, so we need to go back to our transition point. And on the frame, you can see this creates this nice thing here. This is a frame before it transitions, and then on this frame where it has transitioned over to the next one, what we want to do is we want to keyframe the horizontal flip. And you can see it here that it actually reversed the video because we flipped it. We're flipping it horizontally. All right. So now when it gets to the end of this on the Card3D, if we go to this point, it's facing the correct direction. We can see the people are here. Here we can, let's turn this off for a second. The people are here walking in that direction, and the balloon is over here where it's supposed to be. All right, let's drop it back to low resolution proxy mode so that we can work on the next thing. All right, so we've gotten our first one. Let's continue. We can hit play here and let it play. Hopefully it doesn't lock up on us or do anything wonky. I'm not 100% sure why it locks up. I have a feeling it may be related to, I think it's related to the black border or something else. All right, so there was our second transition, was right in here somewhere. Let's go right there. All right, so here's the first side of the transition. All right, so what we're gonna do is pull up our mirror, and we're gonna just set a key on both of these, on both the vertical and horizontal. We know for this one we're going to be flipping it. I believe it's going to be vertical. So let's see, take a look at it. All right, so we're going to be flipping it up. So what we're going to do for this one is we're going to go to our Card3D. Back here, or at the beginning, we're going to go 10 frames before this. All right, and we're going to set a key on all our frames. Set a key. I'll go back. Then we're going to go forward one frame so we're past the transition. And we know for a fact, actually here, that we're going to be flipping it. We know for sure we're going to be flipping it vertically. Actually, we don't know we're going to be flipping it vertically. Let's find out. Because, oh no, this one we're definitely going to be flipping vertically. So if we just click on this, we'll see that we flip it vertically, and we can go 10 frames forward. And so again, if we go back a frame, it's upside right. Here it's upside down, but when we go 10 frames forward and do the flip, so we want it to flip, I believe, we want it to continue in this, actually no, we're going to be flipping it, yeah. We're going to be flipping it in the X 180 degrees. So we're going to go 180 here, and there we go. And let's back it up and take a look at that. Boom, we can see there's our transition, and it looks good other than the fact that it's not smooth. So we go to the X, we select those. Now you can see the bottom one's already eased in because it has keyframes before it. If you add keyframes after, it will almost always, Natron will almost always by default set it as long as they're on the same time range, or excuse me, rotational range, value range. It will automatically flatten it, but in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to right click, tell it horizontal, and it automatically gives us the easing. And so when we go back here, when we hit play, we should see nice and smooth. It's smoothly transitioned. All right, let's continue on to the next one. We're scrubbing. You know what? I think I'm going to just scrub this manually a little bit fat so we get through this a bit faster. Let's find, all right, somewhere in here. Bam. Where are you? There we go. Right in there. So, frame 336. We go back to our node graph. Here, we want to set a key on both again, because we don't know. Now, this is where this one, we're going to do something. We're going to start doing some fancy transitions. So let's look at what we're doing here. Here we did a thing where I do a sort of sideways transition. Now I just want to make sure, I think I did, and I'm checking my original file, where this was at frame, oh, we said that was frame, we need to get ahead. Whoop. Oh wait, what am I thinking? Oh, it's already there. Duh. So we're at 336, so I just want to go in my original to 336. And look at my curves just to make sure I'm doing it the way I think I am. Because I think I did the Y. Yep, I did a full Y rotation, and I think I did. Aha. Yes. This is also say where it starts getting tricky. All right, so we're going to be transitioning in basically the same direction as we've already transitioned, which means that when we go back 10 frames, all right, we're already on the y-axis. We're going to be continuing on the y-axis another 180 degrees. Well, we're already at 180. We're going to set a key on all dimensions so that we get both the X and the Y at their 190. But what we're going to do is go forward 10, one frame forward, out another 10 beyond that after the transition, and we're going to just go to the to the Y, and we're going to say plus 180 degrees because we're going to continue it another 180 degrees. That will do another vertical flip in the same basic, or excuse me, another horizontal flip, excuse me, in the same basic direction. But this time what we're going to do is when it gets to the halfway point, we're going to revert. We're going to also be flipping it vertically, or at least half vertically, and then flipping it back on the X. So what this means is basically we want to go here. We want to go ahead to the 10. Whoops, wait a minute. Something looked weird to me. That's weird. Let's fix, I'm going to fix that curve first. All right, so when we get in here, we can see we need to right click on this and say Interpolation, horizontal interpolation. That should fix it. Let's make sure. And we're going to go back, go one frame back. So right here on this frame, which is the halfway point for the balloon. This is the end, the last frame of the balloon. What we're going to do here is we're going to actually, you know what we're going to do? I've decided we're going to pretend for the time being we're going to add 360 to the we're going to add another 180 degrees to the x-axis as well. We're going to go pretend we're going to go. This is not what we're actually going to do because you're going to see it's not right. We're going to hit plus 180 to the, whoops, wait a minute, that's not right. Escape. I didn't want that key. We're not on the right key. I want to go one more frame. Boop, there we go. When it's 360 here, we can just set this to 360. We know what 180 degrees plus 180 is. 360. We'll set it to 360 there. And we're going to go back to the curve editor. Let's select those curves, all of them. Interpolation. We're going to say horizontal interpolation. Now let's look at what's happening here. This isn't going to do what we expect it to do. All right. Let's see what happens. Actually, that kind of does look like it's doing what we want. What the heck? Oh, sure, make a liar out of me. Oh no, it's all right. Well, I'll take it back. I'll take it back. I did something different because I think, well, never mind, I was going to get all fancy. There's no need to get fancy. We can do this all very easily. Spoilable my fun. Oh. Well, that's what happens. I was doing different transitions in the earlier one, and then I did this thing, and I thought, ooh, it looks better when we do this sort of halfway one. but it's actually, it looks like it's doing proper transition here. So it is fine. Fine, Natron. Fine. It's not quite exactly the same as what I did in the original one. It is going to be a little bit different. Let's go through this. Oh boy, this is VLC. You know what? I'm going to switch programs temporarily. I'm going to pull that up in Mr. Viewer, which is a bit better at dealing with the frame by frame stuff. Let's go back here. So I just want to point out, see, we can see that the transition is, it's similar. It's not exactly the same. It's a little bit, because I had actually set it to a fixed value that was close. I rounded everything. But honestly, this works better. This is when I was originally trying to mimic what was going on in an original After Effects video that this happened in. So anyway, we're going to just go with this. So how do we fix this? Oh, how do we transition with this? Well, this one's going to do a double transition probably. So I believe, let's just make sure. Let's go forward. So here, first of all, yes, we need to flip it vertically and I believe horizontally. So let's pull up Mr. View, go forward a little bit. Yes. So we want to, that's the bottom. And that should be over here. So we need to horizontally flip and vertically. So we need to do both. Well, it makes sense because we transitioned to both. All right, so let's go back to, let's pull up our node graph for our mirror. Oh, I feel deprived. I feel like I want to shoot Natron. Natron, you disappointed me. Oh me. I can't see what's going on though because I've got other things going on. Did it? Oh, it finished. Alright. Back to this. Alright, so alright, so we're gonna undo that. Well, no, people love it when I shoot that, or at least a few people do. So we uncheck the two flips and we should wind up. Let's see if the transition works. Alright, it should work perfectly fine. So there we go. We get this. And we have our perfect transition. Spoiled it. It does mean, I think that my next transition may be different though. Because the next one we're going to do a double transition. Oi, we're going to get really fancy. Alright, so how are we going to do this? We need to, oh yes, we need to enable that again. Let's find our next one, which is down here. Probably, I think this is all. Oh no, this isn't the last transition. The last transition is going to be a swirly. And see that up at the top where it was getting rainbowy? That makes me nervous because every time I saw that when I was originally creating that. By the way, if this does crash, we'll be able to just do recover. It should recover fine. I had no problems recovering this, but that makes me a bit nervous. Let's see, where are you? This is a slightly longer transition point. Aha, there we go. So this is when it transitions to the clouds, which is a transition from forest to air. Ground to air. I thought that was really an interesting bit. By the way, this is all stock footage, freely available off of, I think it's Pixabay. Anyway, so here we are. We're at the thing. We're going to go here. We're going to set first frame before. Set a key here. Set a key here. We might as well just go forward because we're going to be keying both of those as well. That way we can get back to it easy. So we go back a frame, then we go 10 frames back. And for this transition, let's see, what did we do on this fancy transition? Let's hit play. All right, so this one, I believe, does in the time. Let's see. So we can. I think it rotates twice. Well, it horizontally flips. Well, maybe it horizontally flips twice. Well, yeah, it horizontally flips twice while it vertically flips once. So, right, so we'll go back to our Card3D. We're on the 10 frames before. Set a key here for all dimensions. Well, let's do this in the opposite direction. I think we want to do, Y, we're going to rotate it twice, so we're going to bring it back to 0, so we're going to go minus. Oh, actually, we've got our thing. Wait a minute, we got our keyframe here. We want to go forward 10, we want to go forward 1, and then forward 10. This is where we want to say minus 360, which will bring us to 0. And here, I think I want to take this one and just do a minus 180 to that, which should bring it back to negative 180. And then we go back to our mirror, go back to our things, and obviously when we're here, we want to, oh yes, we need to do our curves. Let's go back to our Card3D, fix that first. Go to our rotates, focus on everything. Select it all, do a horizontal interpolation. There we go. That fixes it so that it's transitioning correctly. Go back to our thing, go to our mirror, make sure that we're on our second frame. Go back one, forward one, there we go. So on this one, we're going to be vertically flipping it because the vertical we're only doing 180 degrees. Let's just double check that. Let's see if that works correctly. And there we go. Ooh, isn't that all fancy? We got all fancy. Wow. I think that's the same transition. Well, if it's not exactly the same, it's close enough. I think. Let's back it up and just double check the original, just to make sure. Yep, that looks very much the same. Although this isn't stopping on me. There we go. Whoops. Okay, so the next one we're going to be doing is going to be the swirliness. Now, the swirliness, we stopped playing with other things because I got bored of playing with just doing, you know, what we had. But at the same time, I don't want this to get too crazy. I don't want to go too overboard. So let's get up to where is that point of transition. Oh, I think. Let's see, where is that? Oh, uh-oh. That's where I started having weirdness happen. Oh, that makes me nervous. Alright, we're going to Alt-P it, clear that, because it seems to be working fine. There we go. Alright, so here's on frame. Why is that not? Oh, yes, my mouse is not working 100% correct. I'm having middle mouse button issues. Alright, well, I'll have to do. I can't, my middle mouse isn't working. Or broken mouse. Being dumb. Anyway, right, and now also after this video is over, I'm also going to make a couple of announcements about some things that are changing. People on Facebook already know about this, but or some of this, but I'll have to talk about how things are going to be changing here. All right, so we need to go back a frame on a thing. We want to we don't need to key these. What we're going to do is everything's going to be done from here. So make sure we're one frame away. We're on the previous frame. We go back 10 frames. We're going to set a key on for all dimensions here. Go 10 frames forward, move 1 frame forward, and move 10 frames forward. And then on the Z, we're going to do a 360, I think it was. Let me just make sure that was... What in the world's going on here? Alright, is that correct? Let's see. Why are we not advancing in frames? There we go. Alright. Well, did we do it going right? I think we did. Make sure that's... Yep, it's happening. It's a right frame. But, so here's a tricky thing with this one. For this one, we need to undo this because what we're going to be doing is keyframing 2 attributes of the Card3D's motion blur. So let's first go back to our first frame, and what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the Card3D and we're going to set a key on motion blur, and we're going to set a key on the shutter angle, and we're going to go one on this frame. What we're going to do is we're just going to keep motion blur off on, well, we're going to enable the motion blur on this frame, but we're going to set the shutter angle to 10 or 0.1, I should say. We're going to start it off at 0.1, and we're going to go back 1 frame from our starting frame, okay? And we're going to set the motion blur from that, make sure it's at 0, go forward 1 frame and set it to 1. All right. And so what this will do is it will transition our turn our motion blur from off to on at a shutter angle of 0.1, which is, you know, not very much motion blur. It's very low, very quick. And then what we want to do is go ahead our 10 frames, go ahead 1 frame, go ahead 10 frames, and here we want to again set our motion blur to 1, our shutter angle to 0.1, okay, so just make sure those are both keyed. Go forward 1 more frame and set our motion blur to 0. All right, and so let's go into the curve editor and look at the motion blur here for a second, because these we care about the motion blur and the shutter angle, and we're going to zoom in on this to fit them. So the motion blur goes from 0 to 1, and then from 1 back to 0. All right, at the start of a transition, it goes 1 frame before the start of a transition, it's at 0. Then during our transition, it's 1. All right, our shutter angle is going to start off at 0.1 at the beginning. Now, the key to this effect, or this particular one, is we're going to go back from, let's make sure we're on the proper frame. We're going to go back 1 frame. All right, this is when the motion blur is at 1. Before we were at motion blur 0. I want to go back 1 frame because we're at the end. Motion blur is 1. I'm going to go back 10 frames. All right. And at this point, I'm going to change the shutter angle from 0.1 to 1. Actually, I think I might have set it to 2. Let me just double check my original. I might have, let me get all the way up to the, where is that? It's frame 663. Let me just go in there. Oh, wait a minute. Alright. Nope, I went even further. We went crazy with this. I told it that the motion blur was set to a whopping 2. Because I really wanted that to distort and look like it was all kinds of blurry. Alright? So we set the motion blur to 2, so it's... Oddly, this is not looking... Let me just double check something here. I think this is not looking as... This is not looking as... Let me check our rotation, our Z rotation, for 1 second, because this is not looking right. Aha. There's the problem. There's the culprit. This is not... we haven't eased it, so we right click on this, interpolation, horizontal. We should wind up with something that looks more like an X here after this interpolation, but it doesn't. So that makes me think that I may have done further than 360 degrees. Let me just double check this so that we're positive we got this set correctly. All right, that's 720. Yeah, oh, I did it way more than, I did 2 full rotations on it. So, all right, so I've fibbed. All right, let's go to the last frame of our of this. So here, where it says 360, we're gonna be basically doubling that. So we can just say it's 720, but we can say plus 360, and that's going to make it 720 for the entire rotation. Double check our curve to make sure that on the end, that's going to flatten that out. It's not going to be, we can see that it reset it here. So we're going to set the interpolation to horizontal interpolation so it eases out of that. And now when we go back to the previous frame where it's the motion blur is set to 2, there we go. That's what I was looking for, which is this pretty almost X-like pattern here. And we're going to go back 1 frame, okay? And here we also, because we want this to be the 2 frames to match, because remember, this is supposed to be an even transition. So we want, this is just like the flip. We want it, this needs to be at 2 as well. All right? And hopefully this should result in something. Well, that's interesting. I'm winding up with something I'm not expecting here, which makes me wonder, is this... Let's just make sure. Interpolation, horizontal. That is not the pattern I'm expecting here. Why is it at 334? Did I botch that? Let me zoom in here. Go back 10. Did I go forward 1? No. Back 1. So here it is. Right. It's set correctly. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. I just want to make sure. Yeah, no. I had it at 1 and 10. Then it's a 2 and 1. Let me make sure. 2, 1. That is correct. Just double checking that. No, that's correct. Oh, it is. You're right. 3. That is correct as well. And at the end, yeah, no, I didn't even know my own talent. I wasn't looking at it. I'm just trying to make sure that I expected it to have a different result. For some reason, when I initially set it up, I thought I wound up with this like X pattern on both of the 2 frames, but no, it was only this frame apparently. Anyway, it's all good. It works. This is where it is. So what it's doing is it's spinning really fast, and we wind up with this mess, and it should. This is going to render. This part here will take a little while to render if we render it out. So that's basically it. That's all the transitions, and obviously we don't have audio, which means after what we would do is we would at the end of this. Just hook this up to a write node, write it out to to whatever. I'm going to, for the sake of this, because we have this already set, we're gonna hit save. We're gonna hit, I don't know that this is actually going to be called transitions, but I'm gonna do a transitions _ live 01 to ensure that, and we're gonna try. We'll try and render this out at this low, super duper low resolution, and hope Natron does not crash on us, and we can get the overall effect. You know what? Why am I bothering? We can see the whole overall thing if we go back to our actual, you know, the end result. So well, let's look at the end result again. This is the end result with music added to it. Wrong button. All right. I did say also that I was going to show the original footage, and it just dawned on me I didn't convert these from their MP4 format. So this is going to be a bit tricky. So I'm just going to grab these two of the videos, and we're going to hope that these don't screw up too badly when we do this. All right, let's go back to our initial transition here. These are all, I believe, 1080p. Not all of them, but these two happen to be 1080p. Some of the footage, the whole reason I rendered that out originally was, oh, those aren't the two I was expecting. All right, so that's fine. Let's go back to where that happened. Uh-oh. See, there's a FFmpeg error because we're scrubbing. That's all right. That's, let's go back here. Let's go to our Card3D. That's weird. Oh, they're just so tiny. Way back here. All right, so we want, I think, where is it? Here. There it is. Is that it? Yes, there we go. All right. So this is where, if this all worked correctly, this is where that would have occurred. You know what? I don't know that this is going to work this way, but we're going to pretend it's the. You know what? I didn't want this one. We're going to do the first two videos. That's the video I wanted. What the heck? What the heck? All right. I want that. Oi, these. Alt P. Clear those errors. All right. So here's our two videos. Now, mind you, these are both very low resolution. And if we go to our Card3D, I think it was right in here that we did the transition. It may not line up particularly well. Why does it say that the transitions? Oh, because we're looking at the wrong video. There we go. I'm like, what was that transitioning? There we go. All right. So, right. So, wait, we want the Card3D. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So right here is where the transition stops. All right. So how would we do this if we had two separate things? First of all, if you had a situation like this, don't use MPEGs. Natron does not like what is it called? Interframe footage, aka all intra is fine. All intra footage, like the movie up here, this is an all intra format. It's usually very okay with it. Every time it threw an error there, the reason it threw an error is because it was trying to grab a frame and it didn't have any reference to its original iframe, which is the keyframe that contains all the data that it pulls all the colors and so forth from, and Natron doesn't deal with that type of footage very well. So don't use it. You should either use JPEG sequences, well, I shouldn't say JPEG. Use sequences of some form, but I consider these all playtest things. So if you're going to use the original footage, convert it to either either JPEGs or PNGs or something better like EXR or something. Anyway, I'm drifting. The key here is that we need to use a thing called the switch node for switching between these two. So we're going to do a switch node. We need to, of course, we have our initial one, and we need to go from our first one to our second one at the frame that we desire. So the problem I have here is I didn't really match these up, so we're going to have to... This is going to create a wee bit of a problem. I'm going to go here and I'm going to try and line these up. I don't know that these actually are lined up, but I'm going to assume they're lined up. And if in Natron you don't have them lined up, if your footage isn't offset by frames, you're going to have to use a frame offset node. Or actually, I think we can. Can we offset? First frame, last frame. Yeah, we can offset with that. So in here we can go into time. Where's offset? Time offset right here. We want to put 2 time offset nodes in here. Time offset. All right. And what these are going to do is these are going to just offset where the first frame actually occurs, so that we can, what I'm going to do here though is, I want to compare 1 and 2, so I'm going to go W and try to make it so that those 2 frames sort of line up. This isn't going to be as hard as for the other one, but because I don't really care that it's off by a little bit, but I think I went... Nope, you want to go the opposite direction. So roughly there, on 14 frames. I've got this one offset by 14 frames. Should look pretty darn close. It looks a little off, but that's fine. It's good enough for our purposes. Now let's go over to the other one, and we're going to go forward. Oh, this could break things. We're going to go... Let's step through this just to make it life... So Natron doesn't hate us. Let's get to the end frame, which should be... Let's go to Card3D. Make sure... Alright, so we want to just keep going until we're at... I believe it's frame 179. Alright, so there's a 179. And oddly, that looks pretty good, really. Oh no, it's not. Oh my goodness, my person's way the heck down there. So we want to grab that offset, time offset frame, and let's move this. Let's see, how far off are we going? We wanted to go way off, back in time. You're supposed to happen way... You're moving back too far. I'm not going to guarantee that that's a perfect thing, but you can see I've offset the frame, so it's approximately... Yeah, it's not quite. I'll rather get that a little closer. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. I think that's where it was. That looks right. There we go. All right, so that one's should be pretty darn close to accurate. All right, so now that I've got those two, these two, let's hit W to get that. Now that we've got these two offset so that in time, so that the transition can happen relative to where they are, and we're using the switch node. All right, so the time offset offsets it in time because we're constructing a final video as if we're editing it. I don't usually recommend doing it this way. I'd rather see people do it the other way. But you use the time offset, get get it offset like that. Then we get the switch node, and we take it and we feed the switch node in here. And then what we're going to do is where the mirror is occurring, the 2 frames where the mirror is occurring, we go to the first frame of the mirror, which is right here. And by the way, this looks like it's not. Let's just make sure. 1, there we go. So there's our first frame of our footage, and which should be the end of the this is where it is on it should be on input 0 here. So we want to set a key for which to 0, and then when we go to the next frame, we want to set our which to 1. All right, and that's all there is to it. And then when we want to go to if we did another one, we'd put it into input 2. We'd have it go offset using time offsets, and till it matched up where we wanted, so that we get the frame to match. And then we do we'd switch it using that. But let me just show you that this actually works by rendering out this. Hopefully Natron doesn't give us too much of a problem. We're going to switch it back to full resolution. This is not color graded like the other footages, so here we go. We're watching it, and there we go. It has, because we're using the transition itself, we get a warning over here, probably because it's ugly footage and it doesn't like it, and Natron hates me forever and will never forgive me and is going to crash. We all know this is exactly what happens. That's why I carry a cannon. Anyway, I think we have officially run to the point as far as this needs to go. This has shown exactly what you need to do. I've shown both techniques, and right, that is that. So today's goal, we've already shown it. I can show it one more. What the heck? We'll show today's goal one more time. There's today's goal. Let's make transitions like this. Alright, so I just wanted to say a couple things, because this is going to be the last, video at this current time. I'm telling this for the people who watch this live on Facebook. This is the last video that is happening at this time for the foreseeable future, because my real job before I started, pirating the high seas, my real job is starting up again. I'm starting tomorrow, and if all goes well, I'm going to be pillaging and plundering the high seas with my crew, and which means that I'm not going to have the same amount of time to do these types of videos as I've done in the past, and that means that but I am going to so what this means is, instead I started these with 3 per week, dropped down to 2 because 3 was just too much given them how much content I was trying to make. Now I'm down to 1 a week, and it's been consistent on the start time for the most part. But now it's going to be probably 2 hours later, and it's only going to be on Mondays, although most of the people who've been watching this outside of YouTube have already known this. And I just wanted to make it official on here so everybody knows. So on YouTube, if you're wondering why content might slow down after this point, or the point of this video, it's possible probably because you're starting to catch up with the real what's happening real time. And so when YouTube catches up with, wherever I am past this point, then YouTube will probably be dropping to one video per week as well. But I will be launching them approximately 1 week apart, so that all the information and everything is caught up on and fixed in good quality on YouTube, because YouTube is the archives for this. So, thanks for watching, and keep all Natroning.